This is the Algo Futures Trader Weekly Market Roundup, and I just wanted to go through some of the trades from last week and then talk about one of the tools that we use that you can have access to that we're basically soft launching here. So here's the Dow, and this was Monday, kind of kicked things off. Now Monday we had an outside gap down in the Dow, and that just means that the Dow opened on Monday below the Friday's low. And when that happens, when the market gaps outside of the prior day's range, markets like to trend during those times. So in this case to the downside. So we got an opening morning breakout. Again, this is a template that is built into the software. So when you download the software, you can load this template. It's all set up and ready to go to trade 3 micros. And it's just looking for the market to break out of this blue shaded area as a no trade zone. There's a traffic light filter here at the bottom, and that just makes sure that the markets are in a certain position. So we have to be below the no trade zone, below the VWAP, which is this thick dash line here. In order for it to give the go-ahead to, and there's some other things that are incorporated in there that give it the green light, so to speak, to send the signal to the software to execute a trade. And in this case, we set the Dow to trade to the short side only, and we can do that if we just check this next short button here and then turn the automatic trading on. What the software is going to do is it's only going to take the short trade. In fact, it's only going to take the next short trade that sets up. Once that trade is done, it's going to shut off automatically. All right, so that's how we set it in the morning to just trade to the short side with that outside gap down. And you can see it took us in pretty quickly after the open here. It took a little while to get going, the way that the software manages the trade. So once you choose the direction, now it can be traded fully automatically. So if you just turn automatic trading on, and instead of semi-autonomous, you just trade fully automated, and you check the long and short. That means it's going to take every single trade, long, short, and it's going to continue to trade, until you shut it off. All right. What we prefer to do is have a little discretion before the market opens to determine which direction that we want to trade in. So in this case, again, it took us in, took the first target here, and again, that's all pre-programmed in the software. It has a initial target for 2 contracts and then a trailing stop on the last, but it will also manage those initial set of contracts. As price comes down towards this first target here, the stop is going to move from basically the other side of the no trade zone, and it's going to start moving down. All right, and it will move into a position here that, let's say you ever been in those trades where it gets close to your target and then reverses, but you don't get the target. So that stop will come down about halfway at one point between your entry and that target. So if it does, miss your first target by a tick and reverses, it's going to go ahead and take some profit off on 2 contracts and then trail the rest. So, but this one hit that first target here and then trailed, and unfortunately, the trailing stop just got hit right at the VWAP, and then it really rolled over again. It would have been nice to been able to hold that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So that was Monday. I believe this is Tuesday in the Russell, and the Russell, again, this was a trade to the short side, and it's the only direction that it broke out was to the downside here. Got in, it did go against us, but did not break outside of the no trade zone where the initial stop was, and eventually came down, got a first target. And this one was able to trade a bit longer here, or trail a bit longer here. It did get stopped on a break. See these red dotted lines here? That's our USAR, and price did break that and just stopped us out there. So that was Tuesday's action. I believe this is Wednesday in the NQ. This didn't go very far, but you can see this was a little later in the morning. This was so if you look at the NASDAQ here, it actually made this nice move up, which we didn't catch in this market. What I was waiting for is the market to kind of roll over and see if we get some follow through to the downside, which we did. And I believe this rolled over right about when the news, I think, came out, just around 10 o'clock, sentiment shift, and then they broke the no trade zone here to the downside. But anyway, 2 off and then a stop basically at break even on that. Not too much there. And then Friday in the S&P, I was looking to go short again. This took us in a little early though. Got short and then got stopped out, and then re-shorted again here. This one, reached a first target, and the second trailing stop got hit on that last contract on Friday. All right, so that's kind of a snapshot of what happened during the week. But what I wanted to show you is one of the things, one of the tools that we use is what's called AlphaWebTrader. And you can go to alphawebtrader.com, and there's a free version of this, and we've got some premium versions now as well. But what this can do for you, first of all, it gives you a snapshot of what's going on. So this is kind of the home page here, and there's a nice little snapshot. First of all, it's telling us what is the predominant session right now. Well, it's Asia, right? And so as those sessions, as they wake up in Europe, then we'll be on the European session, and then the US session, and so on. And this tells us, all right, we've got the trend is down here. So we've got mid caps. It says -8%. Trend is down. NASDAQ, the trend is down. See, it says pullback down. So basically the trend is down, and we're just getting a pullback in a downtrend, right? A little up move in a downtrend at this point. Right, so it gives us a snapshot. Now it has the NASDAQ here, and it has the mid cap on the right-hand side. And what that's telling us, the NASDAQ is the weaker market, and the mid caps are the stronger market. Right, it also tells us, you see, everything is in red here right now. Normally you get kind of a split. It'll tell you here what is weak and what is strong in terms of markets. But right now everything is looking weak. So our US currencies are down, energies, our indices down, financials in the EU, financials in the US, Europe, indices in Europe, Asia Pacific indices are down, grains, metals, all right, everything is down across the board here Sunday evening as the market reopened. So it gives you a snapshot, but usually, like I said, there'll be some that will be in green here that will be indicating some of the markets that are actually doing well, and which is not, which is weak. The middle section here is your alpha bias. Now you can get the full alpha bias here by clicking on the alpha bias tab here, but this gives you a snapshot of the alpha bias, and again it tells us what's listed first here is the NASDAQ. It's telling us, now it switched to small cap, but it's telling you what market is strongest at the moment, and at the bottom here, which is the weakest. So they're ranked from strongest to weakest market, and that helps, because if you want to short a particular market, maybe you want to short the weakest market rather than trying to short the strongest market in a downtrend. Right, and then our TSI, again, that's the Trend Strength Index, and that ranks these which stronger. Our SVI here, this one is important. I like this one. When this is beige, it's telling us the market is moving normally. We should see follow through on your trades. But when these turn gray, when these cells turn gray, it's telling you that that market is choppy. There may be false signals, so you want to pay attention. So again, it gives you a good snapshot. The next section here gives us an indication of what the gap is doing. So that being the gap from the open compared to the price from the prior day's close. And you can see this was, I think, from Friday. We had inside gaps to the downside. So inside gaps tend to fill. Therefore, these would all have been colored green, because an inside gap down, the price would need to move higher during the day in order to fill that gap. And so that gives us a bias to the upside as far as the gap goes. It doesn't mean that the gap will fill, but about 70% of the time, those gaps, those smaller gaps, those inside gaps, do tend to fill. Now, if this said outside gap, whether it's outside gap up or outside gap down, that's telling us that market may want to trend in the direction of the gap. In other words, we don't expect the market is going to fill the gap on an outside gap day. Right? We expect the market may trend, and that's exactly what we got on Monday with the Dow. That first trade I showed you, that was an outside gap down, and we didn't expect the gap was going to fill. We didn't expect the Dow was going to trade higher back to the prior day's close and fill that gap. Rather, it was going to go the opposite direction. Right? So that can be helpful as well. These are signals, so you can get signals, and eventually this will connect to like NinjaTrader 8, and you'll be able to use some of the filters here in conjunction with NinjaTrader 8. And some of the signals. These are set to our daily session FibGrid. Right, that's the breakout trades. We have a USAR, that's the ultimate stop and reverse. The gap, right? So this one filters. It only takes trades in the direction of the gap. And the weekly FibGrid and monthly FibGrid signals. So those are more swing trading type of signal. So that's all there. Like if I want to, if I select gap here, all right. So here's it's filtered the signals by gap, right? So there was a long in the YM and in the S&P, right? And if I switch it back to the daily session FibGrid, all right, this was all from. This is all May 1st. So these are all the current signals here. So everything is short. And then next you get a snapshot of the economic data that's coming out, and you can filter by, whether you want the European, British, Japanese, so on. Right? And then whatever the current session here is at the bottom will show up here, the time zone, when that session starts and when it ends, right? So you get a nice snapshot of all the information you can get. If you come to subscribe here, this just tells you, what is free, so you can use it free, the premium features, and then what we call the ultimate, and then the pricing structure below. So you can check that out. And then I'll also right here in this section says trading group. If you click on that, you can access our free Discord server, a little trading room. That we do just in the morning. We just try to get a direction in the morning and see if we can get a trade to go in our direction. Break out one side or the other, and kind of be done with the day. But we also run the real-time algo in the live market. Some of it is paper trade, some of it is live real money, and you can check that out. That runs during the day. And it goes through all the different markets from the, indices to oil and euro and gold and so on. And about every 30 seconds or so, it changes markets, so you can follow that. You just click on the link there and sign up for that. It's free. All right, that's a lot of stuff. I hope it's helpful. We'll come back next week, take a peek, and see what's going on in the markets. All right, have a great week.